Hello, everybody. So I'm just going to wait a couple minutes before people embark upon this magical journey with us. Oh, wow, 75. That's fast. Awesome. Oh, hello, everyone. Hi, I see you. Okay, let's see. Okay, give me 1 second. All right, you guys. So we're here tonight because I had just like a couple of messages. A few downloads came through that I wanted to touch on very lightly. This is not going to be anything heavy. All right, you guys. So a few messages I received. We're in a very interesting transitional time right now where there are two things happening. Two things happening. One are control issues or any traces or residuals of control are now floating up to the surface to be acknowledged, to be identified, and to be released. So that's one of the main principal things that we're going through right now. Two, that the universe is being very, the vision I'm getting right now is it's squeezing us like an orange juice. It's squeezing all of the orange juice out of the orange. So you're in a squeeze. I call it the squeeze. This is going to feel different than other times as well. Thank you very much for the donation. I see you and I remember you. So this is going to feel very different than any squeeze that you might have undergone in the past. In the past, you were in your feelings. It was like, oh, burdensome and heavy and harsh and rough and tough because your body was still harboring a lot of programming. So the more programming you harbor in your body, that you hold within your body, the more painful it is. And we don't want to spiritually bypass that. We want to be present with that process, obviously. But every time you've been present with your process, you've been integrating more of your own light. Okay, you've been bringing back to you, you've been recalling the light of your soul. So by being present with these dark nights of the soul, with this unpeeling, if you will, like peeling back layers of the onion, the more that you've done this, the more you've cleared out programs that were held within your physical structure. And so when you go through it again, you're able to observe yourself going through it as opposed to being in the thick of it. So even though you're still going to feel things and you're amidst all of this quote unquote chaos, you've almost already passed with flying colors. So it's like making it over the hump, if you will. Whereas before it was like, oh my God, there's so much coming at me right now. It will be different now because so much of that programming, the limiting belief systems, the fears have been uninstalled. Okay? So it's not as heavy duty as it used to be. But what I was shown this week, and you guys, I'm going to share a quick story with you. So I was in the pool, I went for a swim, and these bees kept falling in the swimming pool. And so I would have to take my goggles off and then save them. And I kept saving these bees. And then I started feeling sad. Like, it sucks that I can't be a lifeguard for the bees all day long because they're going to be dropping into this pool all day long and there's nothing I can do about it. They're helpless. So number two is that the universe is going to break you like a stick right now. or it's going to squeeze all of that remaining orange juice that's still in your body. If you could think of the orange juice as like that muddy water or that sludge that's still in trapped in your system or in your emotional system. So what's going to happen is we're being forced now. It's like the universe is performing an exorcism on us. And for me, it's been happening in very unexpected ways. Like I'm in the pool, I see these bees. I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, I want to save them. And then my heart drops into my stomach. And I'm like, I can't be here all day. And some bees are going to have to die today. And there's nothing I can do about that. So, all right, this is what I'm getting right now. I'm going to weave it all together for it to make sense. A lot of what we do on this ascension path is we take 2 steps forward and then 1 step back, and 2 steps forward and 1 step back. And every time we take a step back, it replugs us into our humanness. So what the 9 are saying is, we don't want to set such boundaries, or we don't want to disengage so much from the 3D matrix that we lose our humanness. Which is why sometimes we have to take a step back to reconnect ourselves into our humanness, into our heart, and into that empathy that was a curse for us for such a long time, right? We were highly empathic, highly sensitive, and it became a curse because we would absorb everyone's issues. So for a while, we had to unplug from the 3D matrix in order to reclaim our power, in order to find our strength again, to become creator beings of our own personal matrix, of our own personal reality. And what the universe is doing now, your guides, your angels, these non-physical beings, what they're doing is they're like, look, life isn't all easy. Yes, you can create a magnificent reality as a creator being, but life isn't always fair. Bees are going to die. Kids are going to be trafficked. People are going to get killed. So it feels different than it used to, because before we would commiserate about how difficult life was, right? The hard knocks of life, of, oh, life is so difficult. Now you don't have that victimization mentality because you've already done so much shadow work that you're not necessarily governed or dominated by those belief systems. But you can still come back to your humanness and say, I recognize that in this now moment, while I'm on YouTube with you guys and you guys are on YouTube with me, there are people suffering right now. There are people being stabbed. There are kids that are being molested. There are people that are being beheaded. To have that realness about you, right? And what the 9 are always showing me is that we have to be well-rounded as spiritual beings. If you're a spiritual being and you're like, this is strictly a hologram, that's a form of bypassing, right? It's like when a parent says, oh, well, everyone's peaceful, so I'm just going to let my child be. You still have to instill in your child a certain awareness not to get in a car with a stranger. Because what's shown to me is that this reality, there are people who are high vibe and people who are low vibe, and every single thing in between. So you can be a very high vibrational being, but there will always be other people who are vibrating at a different bandwidth than you. Okay? Which is why in this reality, it is impressed upon us it is really reinforced that we see through, that we become discernful beings, that we detect what we should align with and what we shouldn't align with, because people carry certain programs that might bog you down, right? That might make you regress in your life. So going back to the metaphor of the bees, it's like having the recognition that this is happening all day long, and it is a bummer, but you're not saying it to commiserate and play the victim. You're coming back to your humanness. Does that make sense, you guys? Thank you for the donations, by the way. Because here's the thing, if you have a mentality, right, that you're the sole creator of your reality, that would be true. That would be 100% true. 100%. But it's also important to recognize that there's a collective ascension happening and there's a collective body, and we're all part of that body. We're like all these little cells that are roaming around in the body, trying to come and vibrate in unison with one another. Okay, we're trying to symphonize like an orchestra. And sometimes we don't agree with each other, and you might not like what I say, and you go the complete opposite direction, and that's okay for a while, because you might have to go on an assignment to discover certain things, or you might have to extract data, or you might have to get your downloads from source. But the ultimate goal for humanity is to vibrate as a one collective. So saying I create my reality and I don't care what's going on out there, that's a form of separation consciousness. Not on a singular scale, because on a singular scale, you have a right to create whatever it is that you please, whatever it is that would be to your liking, right? Through your free will, which is your choice. Always, 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 always. But being a well-rounded spiritual being implies that we have the understanding of what's going on singularly as a personal, as an individual creating its personal hologram, but recognizing that there's a collective hologram. And it's okay to say, it sucks that there are bees dying in my pool. But this is where the other message comes in from the guides. Phil, you do not have control over this. And they brought through really important messages this week. So one of them was, can you control the weather? Yes, but for the most part, because we're all vibrating as a collective, if you try to make it storm out there right now, it probably won't work, because the weather is a collective endeavor. Okay, now if you get angry enough, I believe that you can make it rain. I believe that you can fire up some whatever. I believe that. But for the most part, if you try to make it rain right now, it probably won't work, because we're part of a collective. So if collectively we wanted to make it rain, it would probably happen through the one mind, because we're telekinetic beings and we can manipulate energy. I hope this is resonating with you guys. So the message that was coming through was, can you control weather? For the most part, no. Can you control traffic? For the most part, no. Can you control what your family member is doing? You can try, but it'll probably backfire, because they don't want your 2 cents. They want to figure it out on their own. They have their own Rubik's Cube that they want to solve, right? They want to align all those colors, and they want to figure it out on their own. So usually when you try to fix someone or change someone, there's a backfire, which is a message from the universe saying your job, your duty, your function here is not to try to change other people or to manipulate other people, is to focus on yourself. So Phil, we understand that you feel bad for these bees. And it isn't fair that they're dying today. And it isn't fair that there are dogs that are neglected out there, and that there are people who are being humanly trafficked right now. It isn't fair. But what they were also bringing through is, if you get too engaged with that, your vibration is now going to drop. So you need to stay focused on your personal hologram while having the conscious awareness of what's going on collectively. How does that sound, you guys? You guys following me? So obviously, if you feel inspired to action, if you feel like something falls in your lap and you're like, I'm supposed to serve this energy, like let's say that you find a dog and you have this, you feel divinely inspired to take care of the dog because it doesn't have a home, then of course you don't want to just go, oh, that doesn't exist, or oh, that's part of the collective. Maybe it fell in my lap because I'm supposed to take care of it. But if your vibration starts to drop, and this is a really difficult one, even for me, because I remember as a boy being so empathic on all accounts. Like I had such compassion. And then life knocked me down more than once, over and over and over again. And I was like, I need to gather my wits. I need to smarten up. I need to strengthen myself. So for a while, I had to split off from feeling so much, right? Because we get bombarded as empaths, as intuitives, as sensitives. And what the guys are showing me now is now we're kind of making our return back to our humanness because we were busy clearing records or clearing archives. We had to really release things that were held within the Akash for ourselves so that we can be more powerful, so that we can become more multidimensional. And then from this multidimensional viewpoint, we can then talk about these things without playing the victim. See, in an older format of reality, I might have said to you, oh, I'm struggling right now, which was really just me crying for my freedom. It's so funny when you can connect the dots looking back and you're like, there was never anything wrong with me. I was just crying for my freedom, and I was feeling the pain, and I was heavily programmed. And looking back, if I had anything I could tell that boy is there's nothing wrong with you. Society has led you to believe that there's something wrong with you. But the reason I was crying so much back then and I was so angry back then is because I was just wanting to liberate my soul. In order to liberate my soul, I had to split off from my emotions and really put on that spiritual helmet and figure out life. And now I'm sliding back into that empathy, into that compassion, but from a multidimensional perspective. So it can be a slippery slope, right? Because you might see something that is very displeasing to you, or that brings about a lot of dissonance in your vibratory field. It may be that you see a mom smacking her child, or that you see dogs that are being neglected all day long, or that you see something that's going on that you don't really have control over. You can try to help, but if you start to notice that your vibration is plummeting, like it's going down the tubes, what the nine were telling me is, Phil, you need to extricate yourself. You need to remove yourself from that situation. Disengage. Because now it's affecting your personal vibration like it did when you were young. And the idea is to be compassionate, but stand firm in all that you are now. And if it's something that's unavoidable or unmistakable, then of course you're there to support that energy. But every single one of us right now are being squeezed. We're being shown what's still kind of lingering at the base of our spine or in the basement that needs to be uprooted. So there's a collective purge going on. And again, the purge is not being experienced as it once was because you've cleared so much already. But so, okay, I'm getting another download. As the ascended being that you've become, as this fifth dimensional being that you've become, you're going to experience what some of the people who are newly awakening are experiencing. So they're going through that dark night of the soul, right? And it's like a spiral. So they have to go through all of what you went through. But now you're kind of like a grandfather or a grandmother, and you can see it from a 2 degree of separation. And I don't mean that in a condescending way, by the way. I'm just giving you, because I know my audience, most of the people who follow me understand multidimensional concepts and stuff. So what you guys are going to be bearing witness to is how, as the newer souls, I don't even like that, the newer souls, as people are awakening and remembering that they're divine, because we're all divine. No one is above, no one's below. Everyone is equal, okay? We are perfect, we are whole. But what happened was we were instilled with with lies, and we were instilled with belief systems that might have supported our ancestors, but they're not going to support us in this new energy. So as people are awakening now, they're tipping over into lucidity within this dream of life. They're going to experience everything you once went through, and you're going to feel it, but it's not going to be as visceral as it once was. It's not going to be as visceral. So you cannot control weather. Again, you can, right? But just stick with me for this video. You cannot control weather. You cannot control which dogs are being neglected, because it's happening as you and I are speaking right now. You cannot control who's being molested. It's happening right now. But what you can control is your reaction to it, your response to it. And if it hurts and if it feels like you're being twisted like a pretzel, just know that you're going through this squeeze, and that anything that's still there in the basement is being pushed out of you. It's moving up and out. It's moving up and out. It's going back to source. And I'll do another video that touches more deeply into this subject at some point. But I have an idea for either a webinar or a video called The Hook and the Spiral. It's going to be mind-blowing, but I don't want to get into that right now. Okay, this is the other message that came in today. The 9 were saying to me, Phil, because I've been struggling with this stuff. Like my heart is cracking open like a hazelnut. I literally feel like, call it a squeeze, call it, you know, mud or muck that's being pulled out of my pipe, or call it whatever you want to call it, being cracked open like a hazelnut. My guides were saying to me, Phil, do you see now why it would have been way too overwhelming for the human race to be multidimensional from the get-go, to be in all places at once, omnipotent, right? Omnipotence is when you can be in, you're everywhere. So could you imagine right now if all of your psychic senses lit up, all of them, I'm talking all of them. And as we're speaking, we would be seeing who's getting killed and who's getting stabbed and who's getting molested and who's getting abused. We would see it all. That would have been way too overwhelming for the human race. So what the 9 were saying is, you chose a singular point of focus, and through this singular point of focus, or from the singular point of focus, you would be able to understand the entire universe without going on overdrive. Right? Because your system would have crashed, especially being an empath, if you could see, feel, and hear all the screams, all the everything. If you could see all the blood right now, it would be way too much. If you could see all the ETs, if you could see everything that's happening right now, it would be unbearable to the human system. Which is why ascension is a gradual process. As your God self, you will be everywhere all the time. But in this human body, we decided to be part of this experiment to see if we could reawaken, reconnect to the truth of who we are, and then hone in on what this universe is about. Right? And I've talked about this before. You can understand energy by being a tennis player, by studying your opponent, or by studying the ball, by studying how much force you utilize when you hit the ball, by studying your body as you're playing. You can understand the universe no matter what you're doing. In the kitchen, the entire universe is in your kitchen. Yeah, like while you're cooking, you're getting a weird signal. You're like, oh, I think this person's thinking about me. Cool. I think I'll call them. Or wait, they're wanting me to call them, but I think they can solve this on their own. And you know what I mean? Like, you can really study the entire universe within this singular point of focus. But what the 9 were showing me, because I was going through it, right? I felt like I was being put through the ringer, was, Phil, you don't have control over all these things. You're freaking out over these bees. How would you handle it if you had to see everything right now? You would lose your cookies. So I thought that was really profound. Is this resonating with you all? So as you're going through this, know that there are hairs, like when your eyebrows, you pluck your eyebrows, there are little hairs that are being plucked out of your vibrational field, of your energetic system. And these little hairs are indicative of collective imprints that belong to an older dimensional construct that are no longer compatible with the 5D New Earth grid. And they're also indicative of whatever it is that you were still holding in your body that is now ready to make its exit. Thank you guys so much for the donations. I appreciate you. Yeah, I decided not to go heavy on this video because I still have so many messages from Jesus. But the thing is, I actually don't plug my eyebrows to the person who said that. But what I wanted to say was Jesus has been bringing through really heavy messages, like potent messages, and I'm not ready to tackle them just yet. I need a break from that for a minute because it's going to be a lot. So that's my energy update. Every single thing that is being reflected back to you in your personalized hologram is your window of opportunity to let these old energies go. Let them all go. Because these programs cling onto us, right? People refer to them as demons, or they refer to them as darkness, and all of those are true. How I perceive a demon is like an older energy that was rooted in fear and every other energy that was associated to that. So if you had a great grandmother who was afraid of red demons, well, red demons were created and that became a demon. So that exists in the astral realm. In the astral realm, every single thing you can imagine exists. All right, demons, wolves that can fly, snakes that are giant. All these things exist. So to me, demons are older energies that belong to an older version of Earth, and they want to cling on to you because they're afraid to go back to the light. They're afraid to go back to source. They think you're source. Wow, that's just coming to me now. They think you're source, right? Don't you recall being in a relationship where you're like, I can't let this person go because this feels so familiar and I feel so comfortable because it's what I know. But deep down, you knew it wasn't for you. It wasn't healthy. It was dysfunctional. It was toxic. So these demons, they want to cling on to you because you're their home and they're living rent-free. These programs, these viruses are living rent-free within your system. But this is where it gets really ironic. We cling on to them too. We don't want to let them go. So we can have 1,000 people shouting in our ear saying, hey, the guy that you're with is cheating on you. And we're like, I'm not going to listen. I'm not going to listen. I'm going to ignore that. I'm going to avoid that. Right? We're constantly ignoring things. And then by doing that, we're asking for the rougher and the tougher because the universe loves you so much, it's going to take you eventually and break your heart open. And it's going to hurt so much because you've been so stubborn. But you are a divine universal being of love and light. That darkness isn't yours. It is yours because you've adopted it, but it's not you. You are light. You are a source creator being incarnate. You are this pristine energy, but you incarnate onto this planet, right? You disembark from those higher timelines. You descend through time, you descend through space, and you're like, yeah, I'm going to forget who I am. And the day that you're born, even before you're born, when your mom gets in a fight with your dad and all this, you ingest all of that energy. It's like food, and it dumbs you down. It degrades your DNA. All of those are programs. It's not really who you are. It's what you chose to play in. It's a game. We're part of a game. This is like a big simulated reality. And we placed all of these clues and all of these hints and all of these breadcrumbs along the way, usually things that feel horrible, so that we can go, I'm done with this. I don't want this anymore. I'm walking away. I'm going to go ahead and pivot away from this thing. And the second you do that, you're recalling your power. You're going, I'm back. I'm back. Right? I've taken notice of how the way that I architected my own reality was to, like, my power dwelled in saying no. And it took me my whole life to figure that out. To say no, to say yes to me, to say no to everything that doesn't harmonize with me. And when you start saying no to things and to people and to places that don't feel congruent with your higher self, you start to see the program playing out. People get mad at you. People talk shit about you. That's the program that was in your body that's now being mirrored back to you. That's the universe showing you this is what was in your body. That's why when you take your power back, it has to kind of ripple. It has to show itself in your reality, in your hologram, because your hologram is a representation of your inner being. So as soon as you decide, I'm going to put myself first, and you pluck out that hair is going to show itself in the form of the friendships that you've had, in the form of the job that you had. So your entire world is going to be flipped upside down. I hope that makes sense. It's not, we wanted to see, we wanted to actually witness what it looked like externally when we take our power back internally. Ooh, I love that. We wanted to witness what it looked like externally when you take your power back internally. And how that would, shift everything in your life. To show you that you do shift energy. That shows you, it confirms you. It validates that you shift energy, that you can manipulate energy fields, that you can swirl, you can literally move energy around. So, all right, I'm getting a funny vision. You know when you flush your toilet, we're flushing our systems right now. But the difference is that the water is coming up to go back to source. We're not shoving it down anymore into the sewers. We want it to become visible. We want to see it. We want to confront it. We want to come face to face with it. So we're flushing our system out, and all of that crap, sorry, excuse my French, all of that crap is going to move up now. And there's a part of you that's not going to want to surrender, because you're going to feel like it's unfair. So many things are going to strike you as being unfair right now. How people are treated, how we've been treated, how we were fed a lie that we believed, that we bought, how other people lack responsibility and they do neglect their children sometime, or they do neglect their animals sometimes. You're going to be, all of this is going to blow up in your face to assist you in releasing these residual energies that are still trapped in your body. That's my message. So give yourself permission to feel it. And again, first, it'll vary, right? It'll vary across the board, depending on where you're at in your awakening process. For some people, it'll be a very heavy time. For some people, it will be a wonderful time because they've already passed with flying colors And now they're getting to be a part of the collective ascension without being in it as viscerally as they used to be, without all those burdens. Ugh. But you still want to be part of it. So you're always going to feel something because everyone else is an aspect of you. This is why they were highlighting that it's important that we keep in mind there's the personal ascension, but that we're still here to facilitate the collective one. And as you facilitate that, you're going to feel minimally, right? It's not going to be as heavy as before, but you're still going to feel what other people are going through right now, including some of your own stuff that's still there, like traces, little traces of it. I hope this helped. Yes, I cannot believe there are 785 people right now at this time. It's 11 p.m., you guys. It's amazing. So I want to leave you with a thought, because you guys know I like to think outside the box. My guides are always encouraging me to entertain perspectives that are completely outlandish, because perspectives enable you to expand and stretch your mind into the multidimensional being that you are. I don't know what I just said, but you got it, right? So perspectives enable you to expand and stretch your mind into the multidimensional being that you are. So they were showing me this, and this kind of ties into everything I just shared. And then I'll leave, all right? And then this will be it. We'll conclude the session. Every time I walk on the street and I see other people, whether they be in a relationship or they have a dog on a leash, I can always see in their aura, and I don't mean this in a judgy way. I'm very good at just observing energy, okay? I'm an energy reader. It's what I do. So I can always see in their aura if they got the dog because they were sad, or if they got the dog because they were already happy and they're like, oh, I want to parent a dog. I can always tell. Now, that doesn't mean that that's not changeable. You can get a dog when you're lonely and eventually love it like no tomorrow, right? Love the hell out of it. I'm not saying that, but what people do is they make choices, very, I want to say impulsive. They make impulsive decisions based on how they're feeling. So I'm sad, I'm going to get a dog. Or I'm bored, I'm going to go get a tattoo. Or I'm lonely, I'm going to go have sex. Again, you're never judged for doing these things. The guides are not up there condemning you. Okay? They're not up there waving a wand like, oh, he's going to be punished. That's not how it works. But always think twice before you entertain the thought of getting a dog or having children, because we don't always do these things by pure intent. We do it because it's programming. You're receiving thoughts of what other people did, the other protocols that people followed, and you're just following suit. That's all you're doing. You're just following the pack. It's like being herded in a pack of sheep or something. So there was a point to this. So you want to ask yourself before you make decisions in your life, why am I doing this? Because if you're discontent, if you're unhappy, just, put that on hold for a minute. Put that on hold and keep working in harmony with yourself to integrate whatever it is that needs to be integrated. And just so you know, when you integrate, when you release, there's an integration that takes place. So they happen simultaneously. When you release something or you feel your emotions, you're integrating energy. All right. So as you feel your emotions, sadness, happiness, joy, discontent, aggravation, anger, depression, all of that, as you're feeling that without judgment, you are opening up a portal and you're ushering in higher dimensional frequencies, which is you, the higher aspects of you. Okay. All right. Now that I've made that point, let me get to the point. My guides were saying to me, Phil, what if your entire reality is based off of a choice that you made that you weren't supposed to make? Take a deep breath, everyone. That's a big one. What if your entire reality, your entire life, is a product of a choice you made to incarnate when you weren't supposed to incarnate? And I said, what do you mean? And that's when they started showing me how people get dogs, and it's a choice. And then they're like, why did I get a dog? I was just depressed when I got it, and now I wish I didn't have it. What if we were like these balls of light up there in the ethers, and we were getting hit with all these different energies, and all these different energies had a different sensation? So let's say you were a ball of light, and then you started feeling the lover that you could potentially make love to in this lifetime. And it peaked, your energy climax. It's like, whoop, I think I'm gonna jump in. It's kind of like when you get a tattoo and you're like, I think I want one today. And you're like, let me go get one. And you make a choice, and then you have the tattoo the rest of your life. They were showing me, what if this entire life of yours is just a choice that you weren't necessarily meant to make? There was a higher energy that was about to hit you, and you got so excited by this one that you jumped in. How's that for a thought? Yeah. Yeah. Now, obviously, from another perspective, we're exactly where we need to be. It is 100% true and accurate that we're here to help the collective, that we're here to have a wonderful life, to be parents, to be children, to share love, to enjoy dinner. You know, I got a vision once that from the ethers, I saw people dancing and singing and eating M&Ms, and I was like, they look like they're having so much fun. I think I'm going to go try that out. And that's the better attitude, right? We want to take everything with a grain of salt and be like, oh, I was up there and I saw people dancing and singing and eating, and they looked like they were having such a good time, and I'm just going to jump in there. It looks fun. It'll just be an experience, and before I know it, it'll be over, and then I can choose a different experience. But I do like to, I'm not afraid to go really deep, to deep dive into my soul. I'm not afraid of having conversation about any and everything. I'm not afraid to contemplate, someone killing me or someone coming after me and wanting to kill me for sharing truths. These things don't scare me. All they do is they enlighten me. Because then I'm able to jump around and accumulate more experience without having to physically jump around. That's how powerful the mind is. That's how powerful your mind, your heart, and when they work together, what they can do. They can generate all these algorithms of all these possibilities that might happen to you. And through that, you're able to go to the depth of your soul and dig up whatever's still buried there that is causing fear, that you may not have known was causing fear. You see what I'm saying? So I like to self-hypnotize myself. The Arturians, the white-winged collective consciousness of nine, hypnotize me as well. Every time I meditate, I can see myself turning to them, and there's like 9 aliens. They hypnotize me and they transfer all this knowledge into me. It's like a file transfer. So I'm not afraid of all these things because I want to do my due diligence in this life to be willing to look at everything, to look at the dark, to look at the light, to look at all the grays, all the millions of shades of gray. So the perspective of, could this be a choice that I made out of impulse? And had I just waited, maybe higher dimensional beings would have been like, you know what, you actually belong to this other planetary system that vibrates higher. But because I was still susceptible to believing the programming, these pop-up ads that show up and you click into them, or these telemarketers that call you, and then you're like, oh my God, yes, I owe you. You know, like maybe I was still susceptible and I took the bait. And I have to be okay with that and still make the best out of this life. Because life is beautiful. It doesn't matter where you go. Every point of focus that you choose, whether that be one point of focus or 10,000 points of focus at the same time, it's all beautiful because it's all from the same source. But I wanted to leave you with that thought tonight, that maybe we're in a reality that we weren't necessarily meant to be in. Maybe we were going through some sort of a evaluation and we were being tested as to where we belong, where we rank, where we should be positioned in the universe. But now that we've awakened and we're reascending, we can do it with grace, we can do it with power, we can do it with smarts, we can do it with a sharp discernment and help others ascend too. So I hope this message helped you guys. I know that was a lot. I can't believe it's been 46 minutes, but I love you guys. Thank you for your donations. Oh, wow. Thank you for the $75. That means so much to me. Thank you. I see you. Thank you. I've been loving giving you guys as much free content as I can. And I feel so fulfilled doing this for you guys. And I thank you for acknowledging me through your donations. Love you, Turtle Flow Yoga. I see you, and I will see you soon. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do, because I plan on doing these more. And I have noticed that the algorithm has been upped, or that my videos have been circulating a lot more thanks to your subscriptions. So I love you guys, and I'll see you in another version of The Now.